This is CBT 2 because YouTube cut off the last remaining minutes, so I'm going to try and keep this short. As I was explaining in my first video, I have considerable concerns about CBT itself, and I mentioned, for example, just to recap, the ABC theory, which is in rational emotive behaviour therapy. That an incident happens, something happens, it's an activating event, that B, the way that we think about and perceive the activating event, C, causes the way that we feel, and that D, you therefore need to change the way that you think and perceive in order to change the way that you feel. And I was expressed, even where CBT books don't mention ABC, they always talk about the feelings that underlie the thinking, the distorted, so-called distorted thinking patterns that underlie the feelings. And my concern about this is very simple. It doesn't accord with what we know about child development. It's a very simple point, really. Babies can feel long before they can think, and that's obvious. The other thing that it doesn't accord with is the simple fact that feelings and emotions spring from felt needs. For example, a baby is newborn and hungry, wants food, wants milk, has a felt need. That felt need isn't instantly satisfied. That leads to discomfort. Maybe it leads to anxiety. This is nothing to do with a conceptualization process. This is to do with deep physiological or body-oriented responses. When mother picks up the baby has the ability to test out, is this hugging really satisfying my need? It's not, of course, and baby knows on an experiential level that it's not. Baby still continues to cry, or stops crying but then starts crying again. Mother offers breast for milk. Baby then has the felt need satisfied. The anxiety dissipates, and then hopefully contentment takes its place if the mother is lucky and there's no other felt needs there. But any mother will know whether or not her child is grizzly or not. Any mother will know that. And in the circumstances, how on earth people can see that or believe that distorted thinking patterns are caused. Of course, we have distorted thinking patterns, but they don't literally cause the way we feel. The way we feel is basically a physiological response. It's a body-oriented response that is then conceptualized later on. And this is why changing the way we think in order to change the way we feel very rarely works. It very rarely, it occasionally works, and I have a theory for that, but it very rarely works because feelings and emotions are prior or primary to thinking. In fact, the baby thinks later on by taking experience. For example, the experience of a felt need of hunger, by conceptualizing it through the interaction of language. Mummy, I'm hungry, I want some food, is a conceptualization from experience. And then later on, from that conceptualization process, we develop thinking patterns, including logic, and we also develop core beliefs. Cognitive behaviour therapy, even the advanced stuff, goes down to core beliefs. It doesn't go down to the physiological and experiential roots of those beliefs. And it's therefore, in my view, deeply flawed. Experiential psychotherapies such as focusing and experiential, process experiential, and also an excellent therapy that springs from the cognitive behaviour family of therapy is called mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, which is absolutely excellent. All emphasise, if you like, the body. They all emphasise the physiological roots of what we experience and what we think and how we perceive and behave, and all of them have abandoned cognitive reframing, which seems to be the mainstay of much of the CBT therapy that is being offered today. So my concern really is not simply that CBT therapy can make problems worse. They can add an additional layer of thinking over and above those emotional problems. It's a quick fix, it doesn't actually deal with experiential roots, and it leaves people in a very sad condition. They may have some techniques to suppress their phobias or their fears, but the fears themselves are never addressed. And the idea that I, if I wanted a government job, should be retrained in this therapy and the government should spend thousands retraining me if they wouldn't, of course, give me a job, and they certainly won't after this video, is absolutely absurd waste of money. Why not promote diversity in therapy by allowing people to come in with their current training and offer a huge the diversity of therapy? Different therapies meet different people's needs. In the King study I mentioned earlier, person-centered counselling not only proved equally effective by the end of the therapy, but also had a higher satisfaction rating for people who received it, not surprisingly really. And the cognitive reframing clearly wasn't the factor that led to people getting better, because person-centered doesn't really involve cognitive reframing. So I think the government should rethink. They could cut spending without cutting access to psychological therapies, simply by cutting the CBT training and employing therapists like me with my MA and my current training. The government won't do that, of course, because they are committed to a policy, but it's a policy that is deeply flawed and deeply wrong. If you don't like what I'm saying, or you're a CBT therapist, if you're a government minister even, come back at me, respond.